Hey everyone, don't forget to follow me on these social media platforms to stay up to date with video content along with interacting with me directly on all your favorite topics and discussions via Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you, and let's begin. The concept of fusion being reintroduced within the Tournament of Power had been a very taboo subject considering the unlikely scenario of Goku and Vegeta fusing yet again following the Zamasu arc, but is there any chance that we may in fact see Vegito and Gogeta be brought back into the world of Dragon Ball, or are the days of Goku and Vegeta fusing over after their battle with merged Zamasu? Both Vegito and Gogeta are definite fan favorites, but is it possible for them to be brought back? On today's video, we revisit an older video done early on this year of the fusion concept within the Tournament of Power and seeing how fusion would stack up now and if it's possible for us to see it done once more. And again, if you guys are new to this channel and love Dragon Ball, don't forget to go on ahead and smash that subscribe button alongside enabling all notifications by clicking that bell icon. That way you guys can be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto this channel in connection to news, information, updates, and discussions. Hashtag Dragon Ball Squad. Now, Emish, welcome back onto the channel as the subject of fusion in the Tournament of Power is going to be the main focus here today, as we now have the confirmation that both Kale and Khalifa are going to fuse in the tournament setting to create Kefura, a fusion in which nobody in the Dragon Ball community had seen coming before, especially now having to visually observe and seeing that they're using the Potara earrings. And prior, back in March of 2017, we did a video as to why fusion is illogical in the Tournament of Power, at least for Goku and Vegeta. And now that we have Kefura in the tournament setting, what I wanted to ask you here today is, now that we have the introduction of this Potara fusion in the Tournament of Power, something in which nobody in the community had seen coming before, what are the odds and the chances now of other characters fusing in the Tournament of Power? Because to touch up on the basis of Goku and Vegeta, as much as myself, as much as you, as much as many other people want to see the reintroduction of Gogeta in Dragon Ball, with possibly even Vegito having to be brought in the picture because we saw him in the previous arc, and how cool would it be if we saw Vegito versus Jiren, or possibly even Gogeta versus Jiren? The realization is Goku and Vegeta have no desire or need to use any sort of fusion to get far in this tournament, even though to us the fans, in the eyes of the beholder, it seems very grim that they should use fusion considering how powerful Jiren is. And if we had seen fusion before, I think that it would have been more prone to being introduced now. My question to you is, what are your overall thoughts going forward in potentially seeing more fusion in the Tournament of Power? Do you see anybody else aside from Kale and Khalifa using, Potara fusions or Metamarise fusions to get the job done, or even creating a new Super Warrior? Or do you think just for the sake of the tournament, this is only going to be the fusion that we see coming and no other person's going to fuse aside from only them?
Okay, so first off, I'm going to try to approach this question with two different mindsets. One, the mindset of a casual person who just came to Dragon Ball Super and doesn't have much knowledge about Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
Okay. And then I'll try to come in and approach the same question with the knowledge of Dragon Ball Z based on its history, based on how they format things. Okay, so using, as a casual fan, right, putting myself in someone's shoes, I would automatically suspect or assume that yes, it would be possible for other characters to do the same, because that's just what's being portrayed to me. If one character can do it for the sake of giving their universe a chance, why can't others? Right? It's pretty much set in stone. It's basic common sense and it's logic. It's logical. It makes sense, right? So yes, I would see it as being likely for other fighters to incorporate the same kind of concept. For example, people have talked about the Namekians. A lot of people talk about reintroducing or introducing for the first time into the actual canon version of the series Gogeta, Metamarise fusion. But then the concept comes into play where Vegeta never really learned the dance, to my knowledge, right? So now, what's left? Potara has been the one thing that they utilized. We saw how they handled that in Dragon Ball Super in the merged Zamasu arc.
Right.
People were not happy. You weren't happy. I wasn't happy with it. I felt like Vegito at that point in time had no placement then.
It was very underutilized.
Exactly. They should have just powered up Trunks and been done with it. But instead, they gave us Vegito for quote-unquote fan service. But these are fans. See, people who know about Vegito are people who are familiar, very familiar with Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
But they approach that concept to the casual fan base who are not very familiar with Vegito. So people who saw Vegeta for the first time might be like, oh my God, did you see that new guy Vegito or whatever. Or maybe even casual fans may have some knowledge about Vegito, but not to that degree where they know about Potara, the multiplier, how long it lasts, the fight against Buhan, all this other stuff, to a T, right? Like historian concepts, or even if you just have basic knowledge about the series. So that's what hurt Vegito. So now when you see fusion based on Kale and Caulifla, ironically enough, by the same Potara, by the same method used that was utilized to quote unquote shit on Vegito, and that's the truth, it hurts. So now people naturally are gonna try to disregard the concept of Kafla or Kefra and automatically demand for Gogeta, for Vegito, for the Namekians to merge, for the robots to merge together.
For Gohan and Goku, a lot of people wanted to see that fusion come about, which again, I don't think is logical for the Tournament of Power.
Exactly, and that's because Goku is in this tournament to be the strongest. Vegeta is in this tournament because he wants to win, to be the winner. He wants to be the last warrior standing.
That's their purpose,
Frieza,
correct?
Exactly. Golden Frieza is also in the tournament for the very same thing. It's for the very same thing. He wants to be the last warrior standing. Gohan is right now. He's just the leader. He's not really doing much, but we're expecting for him to do something. So yes, I would look at it as expecting for other universes to utilize the same concept. And if Champa knows about fusion, I mean, you would imagine someone who I'm not going to say he's incompetent, but I will say that he does portray himself as being someone who doesn't really give a shit, who doesn't have a lot of knowledge about things. He's very dependent on Vados when it comes to analysis.
Right.
But when it comes to stuff like this, clutch moments, yeah, it seems like based on the kind of character he is, he's kind of a troll, that he would prepare for this tournament in other ways aside from training.
By any means necessary to win, because that's what Champa kind of gives off that vibe. That's all he's about, is just any means necessary, right?
Exactly, and because of that, if you remember, he's the one that told Kaba, I need more Saiyans, just give me Saiyans, that's all.
Yeah.
So we've gotten numerous amounts of tidbits, of hints that Saiyans were going to be the primary focus. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. From day one, even back in Dragon Ball, Goku has showcased numerous amounts of potential based on him being a Saiyan. That's what it comes down to. It wasn't really utilized more until Dragon Ball Z, and then we saw that be utilized with Gohan, from his potential. So yes, as a casual fan, I do see it. Now, going into it from a person who does know a thing or two about the series as a whole,
right?
We know Dragon Ball, they tend to they kind of like reusing the same concepts that they've used before, but introducing it through different characters and a different means. But ironically enough, everything starts to look familiar, right? Some people think that the whole transformation with Kaba recently reminds them of the Gohan Super Saiyan 2 going against Cell.
Right.
It reminds me of, and then we saw a similar concept be used for Future Trunks when he first turned Super Saiyan Rage. He stood up the same way. They blacked him out with a yellow light, and he was a black shadow. It's the same thing they did with Super Saiyan Rage Trunks. So now, based on this, it looks like they are replicating an arc that introduced a lot of concepts. Ironically enough, it was during an arc that made, I would imagine, a lot of money. It sold a lot of DVDs. It sold a lot of content. Looking at Xenoverse 2, looking at video games, a lot of the characters you see in these video games now are primarily played from the Buu arc. That's what it comes down to. Super Saiyan 3, Ultimate Gohan, Fat Buu, Skinny Evil Buu, Super Buu, Buu Tanks, Bukalo, Buhan, Super Vegito, Vegito Gotenks, Super Gotenks, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, and more. We saw so many concepts be introduced in that series, in that arc alone. So it seems like they're doing the same thing here. So looking at it from that perspective, yeah, I could see it happening again. But what it comes down to is it's really gonna matter whether or not you guys enjoy it. And I would advise that you guys, Alex has been telling you for quite some time, go into this arc, turn your brains off, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, because there are going to be a lot of things happening in this arc that aren't going to make any sense. Now, looking at this from an objective standpoint, how strong do you believe Kefura's fusion is going to be minus Super Saiyan 3? Because in my opinion, I do feel as if we're going to get the Gotenks approach, as they're going to give her the Gotenks treatment. Hence why when Goten and Trunks first asked the Goku to show them Super Saiyan 3 when they fought Super Buu, Piccolo was asking, is that all you have? And they said, no, we were kind of waiting, for the right moment, and ta-da, Super Saiyan 3. And I think that based on what we're getting, or what we got now, I think that it's inevitable that we will see a Super Saiyan 3 Kefura. Now, I don't think that's the worst case scenario. I think worst case scenario is if we were to see Super Saiyan God Kefura or Super Saiyan Blue Kefura, that would be, I think, the highest degree of ass pulls, because those two transformations or those two levels of power alone should be something that nobody else should even be remotely close to touching. Although it was kind of eerie how Goku told Khalifa that if she continues the way she's adapting and the way she's progressing, she could ultimately even become way more powerful than Super Saiyan 3. My question to you is, how strong do you believe Kefura is going to be going forward in this tournament? Judging based only using her as a comparative standpoint from a Super Saiyan 1 and Super Saiyan 2 standpoint, how strong do you see this fusion being? And once she does achieve Super Saiyan 3, because it is inevitable, where do you see her placement there in the Tournament of Power?
Super Saiyan 3 Kafla, in my opinion, okay, don't flame me, but it's based on what we saw from Kale against Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Yes, he might have been suppressed. We can agree that Kale is at least a low tier Super Saiyan Blue kind of fighter in terms of raw power, not skill set. When Goku uses his skill set, it's a completely different ballgame. He doesn't even need to go Super Saiyan Blue to some degree, right? We saw that today. He didn't even have to go into Super Saiyan to body Khalifa in his base form. So, and then we got more confirmation by Whis telling you that, listen, martial arts is not the same as dirty old plain street fighting. It's just not the same. And that's what Khalifa is. She was introduced to be like a
brawler.
A brawler. Berserker Kale is clearly a brawler. Raw power, easily low Super Saiyan Blue tier. Kafla, Super Saiyan 3, I'd give her Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. Maybe high baller to Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10 at least. Granted that technically they are naturally going to upskill everybody. They're going to make Kafla, I would imagine, that's why they're marketing her so much. That's where they're really pushing for it. That's why they utilize so many resources to make these episodes look as great as they have been lately, especially. So with that in mind, I would wager that, yeah, they're really pushing for her. We got confirmation months ago before they were even animated into the series, before they were even introduced into the series, that these two fighters are going to be somebody worth keeping an eye on. And yes, maybe they might have been rushed in terms of development. Yes, I agree with that. I'm not denying, I'm not gonna, argue with you guys about that. But the fact of the matter is, they told us from the get-go, listen, these are gonna be some people you want to keep an eye on. And sure enough, look, they fuse. I don't necessarily agree with the fusion. In terms of power, I would say Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, maybe Kaioken times 10. It gives Universe 6 an actual shot at making them feel like they belong without, because right now all they had was hit. And that's the thing. See, now let me touch upon something real quick. Looking at Dragon Ball Super, and I really like that you asked me the first question, and I was able to approach it from a Dragon Ball Super fan and a Dragon Ball Z fan. Right. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball Super, you already know that comparing it to Dragon Ball Z, in most cases, is not really justifiable. It just doesn't do it. It's not fair. Dragon Ball Z had so much support behind it that it took time.
They gave it
time.
The
5 minutes, Frieza, the 5 minutes of eternity. The Gohan versus Cell arc alone took many episodes, and every episode, despite how many times they dragged it along with talking and just stare downs and power ups, we fucking loved every second of it, and you can't deny that. Now, putting that aside for a second, and at least accepting that Dragon Ball Super has had its fair share of ass pulls, okay? Let us not forget the Goku Black arc. Merge Zamasu fused. The very first episode he was showcased, he looked amazing. Every episode after that, he got shitted on. Vegito, 5-minute fusion. Future Trunks. Vegito has a Vegito sword, which is exponentially stronger than Future Trunks, but he could not cut Merge Zamasu in half. When he pierced Merge Zamasu, Zamasu didn't cry, oh, this power, this energy is boring into me. But when Future Trunks does it with his Genki Dama Spirit Sword, by the way, he learned the Mafuba in 5 minutes through an iPhone.
Yeah, just watching it via recording.
Genki Dama Spirit Sword pierces Merge Zamasu, and Merge Zamasu's crying, oh, this power, this energy, what is this power? So you see what I'm saying?
And he faded,
It was ass pull after ass pull. Yes, the fan base, we outraged about it, but this is nothing to get mad about. And here's the thing. Gohan, and I love Gohan, by the way. This has been established, okay? I just want to put this out there. Alex will tell you I love Gohan. I've done numerous videos talking about it. So, Gohan trains for 4 hours, comes back stronger than he's ever been. We even got the scans telling us that Gohan was going to come back stronger than he's ever been. He trains for 4 hours with Piccolo. And even though Gohan has history, the fans were still upset because how they did it. They rushed his ass. They gave him all this power. He fights Goku, pushes Goku to Super Saiyan Blue at least, or quote unquote, he begged him to go there, right? Some people believe that he begged him, fine, no problem. And guess what? Comes into the tournament, he's not the same fighter we saw fight his father. Now, with that being said, people will still say, Emish, Alex, will Gohan get Super Saiyan White? Will Gohan get a new transformation? But nah. When Khalifa and Kale do it, even though they've been confirmed months ago, before the Universe Survival arc even started, that they are going to be big players in this tournament. And realistically speaking, without Hit, they are logically the only fighters left for Universe 6. So what's the problem? And when they do it, it's a problem. And I know it's because it was rushed, but listen, Gohan was rushed, Future Trunks was rushed, Merge Zamasu to a degree was rushed, okay? Many characters have been rushed in this arc, and I guess it goes based on favoritism or based on whether or not you're a fan of the character or not, whether or not maybe people are upset that Hit got eliminated early, and I understand that. And ultimately, Alex, what I think it comes down to is, to wrap up my answer definitively, the reason people may not agree with this fusion, especially if it's Potara, is because what Dragon Ball Super did to Vegito in the Merge Zamasu arc. To date, I am still salty about that.
Not only that, but seeing as how Kale and Cauliflower were given everything so quickly, Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, and seeing everything our characters have went through to achieve that, years of training. And I understand people are going to say it's Universe 6, it's Universe 7, parallel worlds, it's a different, they're different, breed of, Saiyans, whatever, they adapt differently, and that is true, they do adapt differently. However, the reason why people, I think at least, don't like these two is because they adapt and they're given so many things so quickly to where even now, once we see them achieve Super Saiyan 3, because it's inevitable, people are still gonna cry BS. Now, to an extent, I also agree, but remember, Gotenks at that given point in Dragon Ball Z would also be considered to be an ass pull and BS, because here you have two, I would take it 7-year-old boys, looking at Goku become a Super Saiyan 3 for the first time, and all it took was one visual, all it took was one time for them to see Goku transform, for them to nail it when they transformed in the hyperbolic time chamber, just for them to bust out and later having to fight Super Buu. People tend to forget that Dragon Ball Z also had tremendous amount of ass pulls, but going back to the concept of fusion, I want to see Vegito, I want to see Gogeta, but it's not going to happen in this arc because there is no logical reason for Goku or Vegeta to use that as a means to defeat their enemy, that being Jiren, since he is the strongest one. It'll really blow my mind, and I swear to God it would, if they by some chance did use fusion and Jiren beat him out of that fusion, which forces Goku to tap back into Ultra Instinct. That will blow my mind to to every possible degree you can even think of. But I highly doubt that Vegeta and or Goku would agree to that. Number one, Goku's very hurt. He's trying to recover. His stamina is very low. Vegeta has his hands full with Toppo and possibly various other fighters later on. The concept of fusion here would be great. If we never saw Vegito in the last arc, this would have been the perfect time to introduce him, because here we have an enemy who's being portrayed to be as strong, if not stronger, than a god of destruction. How else do we defeat him? If we can't do it as singular fighters, then we're gonna have to merge and combine our powers to see if we can even put a dent in this guy. And even then, people make the argument in saying, well, Vegito would lose, Gogeta would lose, in which we did a video, Vegito versus Jiren, in case you guys have missed that, and we explained why Jiren, to an extent, given his low ball power, because we haven't really seen what he can fully do, still was able to truck, Hit. His power surpasses that even of time. Tanked right through a Super Spirit Bomb, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 Goku. What more is needed? So I would like to see a fusion here, but I think that the way this is all being built and set up, we are going to see Ultra Instinct Goku fight Jiren at least one more time, which ultimately sets up Kefura's fusion and what she might be doing. So my question to you is, where do you see Kefura's placement? Do you see her fighting Goku until the very end? Do you see her being separated and fighting Frieza, fighting Vegeta, actually possibly even challenging the strongest, that being Jiren? Where do you see her placement after her fight with Goku? Do you see her sticking with Goku, or do you see her just rampaging all throughout the tournament to where she comes across someone, that being whoever you may choose for her to come across, and them having their final fight to where either she gets wrung out or her fusion separates? So where do you see her in terms of placement as the tournament continues?
Well, okay, first and foremost, we don't definitively know how Kefla is going to respond to the fusion, basically her personality, and I think that plays a huge factor into this.
Right.
I would imagine that because they're using this many resources to push for them, that the fusion will be a successful fusion. Every fusion character we've ever seen in the series, in the canon version of the series, has always been a troll. To some degree, they tend to flaunt their power because they're so strong, and rightfully so, because they want See, they want you to enjoy the fusion, but granted that this is the tournament of power, this is where things get interesting. Are we going to waste valuable fusion time, precious fusion time, trolling with Goku? Are we going to be trolling to the point where we just, flaunt our power, wasting our stamina, basically, melting down the fusion timer? That's what it really comes down to. After we've assessed that, and I'm under the assumption that they're not going to be as stupid or as trolly, right, as I would imagine based on Fusion characters' history. So with that, as far as Frieza, I personally, I could see Frieza fighting them, but after they defuse. And
that's the guy I want to see fight them, to be honest.
And a lot of people, might want to see that fight. And it's not because, like I said, guys, it's not because I don't think Frieza can win. What it comes down to is this: Frieza is selectively picking who he chooses to fight. He's only choosing people to fight that he knows he can beat. And that was evident. Every single person we've seen Frieza go in front of, basically, has been wrung out. It's been someone who he can casually defeat. And he's been extremely smart about this. Why? It's not because he's weak. We know he's not weak. We know he's a fucking savage. But what it comes down to is this: he wants to make sure that he lasts. And right now, I have to agree, that is possibly the best case scenario for Frieza at this point in time, especially now that we know what he wants to do with the Super Dragon Balls to a T. It's been confirmed. We know he wants to control the gods. He wants to reign over the Omni Kings. Yeah, he wants to be top dog without having to maybe train for it, which is fine, no problem. Okay. But with that, if he were to go in front of Kafla, which I've already said, if I'm correct, if he is Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken level or Kaioken times 10 level at least, Frieza does not want to fight this person. That's what it comes down to. And it's not me hating on Golden Frieza. I love Frieza. We did a video just recently talking about Frieza. I like his implementation into the series. But I can appreciate the fact that they are clearly saving him. Okay, they are clearly saving him for something big. And that is for him to make sure he is the last man standing. Whether or not that comes true is a different scenario. I'll tell you who I would like to really see fight this fusion. And some of you may not agree with this, but the only reason I'm saying this is because I know this character, much like his father, does extremely well when they're pushed into a corner. Okay, Gohan fighting the Yardrad, that was bullshit. Gohan fighting Obuni was a good fight because we know Gohan struggles when he goes up against somebody with a skill set. But right now, going up against someone like a Kafla would push Gohan to no end. And if this person is Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken or Kaioken times 10 level, then yeah, Gohan stands no chance. Then what it comes down to is, Emish, are you saying you want Gohan out of the ring? No, I'm just saying I would like to see Gohan get pushed to that degree in a one-on-one situation where he's not worrying about Piccolo and where he's not worrying about where everybody else is. Because right now we have yet to see Team Universe 7 regroup. And because of that, I'm under the impression that they want to give these characters a spotlight in terms of a one-on-one fight. Now, realistically speaking, for the upcoming episode, I could see Universe 3 robots interrupting the fight between Goku, especially once Kafla gets Super Saiyan 3, if she will.
Yeah, there's a big rumor that they might actually combine their powers as well in forming that giant Megazord. What's your take on that?
Well, realistically speaking, she should be able to thrash them. It's really not that big of a deal. Base form, Khalifa was able to just knock them back, no problem. Yes, they caught them off guard, but still, it is what it is. That's the truth. Merge-wise, when they're merged together, they may be very powerful, but still, realistically speaking, we know the Saiyans right now, aside from Jiren and aside from Frieza and Hit, are the strongest bodies in this arena, hands down. So that's basically what it comes down to. As far as Frieza, I don't see him wanting any piece of this character until after they defuse. And the reason I feel that way is because we saw what he did to Kaba. He was waiting behind the rocks after Vegeta left. He opposed Kaba in a very nice and gentlemanlike fashion. Konnichiwa, nice to meet you. And he knew he was trolling him. And he knew Kaba was damaged. Right, he knew Kaba was damaged and he was hurt, and he took advantage of that. Frieza is making sure he's going to be one of the last man standing, if not the last man standing. And that's why I feel like it really comes down to that. Will the fusion last? Will Super Saiyan 3 burn through the fusion? If we can get at least 10 to 15 minutes of time for the fusion, I think people will be happy. I'm not saying 10 to 15 episodes straight of just them. What I'm saying is that if you want to really push for Universe 6, make them last in the tournament. Bring back Android 17 and 18. Bring back the Vegeta versus Toppo concept. Let us see a little more of the other characters going to work.
Please ring out Ribrianne.
Please ring out Ribrianne. Actually, I guarantee if Kafla brings out Ribrianne, the fan base will automatically love her.
Oh, they would love. Are you kidding me? Ribrianne is one of the biggest burdens in this tournament because so far she's in here and all she's doing is spreading her her love essence and trying to make people fall in love and love
But it's
this and
working.
beauty that. So people can't
Unfortunately,
stand that. So if Kefura eliminates Rey Brienne, everybody in the community will rejoice over Kefura because it's like finally somebody got the job done. If not Vegeta, who was struggling with her the entire time and just toying with her, finally somebody came in there and just got the job essentially done with her. So, but before we close off here, what's your take on the fandom that wants to see the Namekians fuse, that wants to see Goku fuse with Gohan and creating Gokhan for whatever reason, Vegito, Gogeta, so many concepts of fusion. I get why they want it, because you need to introduce a higher caliber like fighter in terms of, you know, multiplying their power via Potara, if not, you know, having to stack that up additionally via Metamaries. Whatever the case may be, you need fighters that can hold up against Jiren, because as according to Jiren, nobody is worthy of fighting him. So what's your take on the fandom that wants to see specific fusions with certain characters? And touching up on the first question being presented, is Kefura going to be the only fusion, or at some given point are we going to see at least 2 other, if not 3 other people combine their powers in having to take this tournament of power to the next level? What do you think?
Well, first and foremost, we all thought fusion wouldn't be in the tournament.
No, we know none of us did. No, because
yeah, and I just want to take my hat off to the fans. And one of the many things I love about this community is that, especially about the fan base, is that they always like to think outside of the norm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we, as content creators or people who tend to think that they know a lot about the series, we always use our knowledge to definitively state our opinions as facts sometimes.
And we learn a lot from the community as well. There are certain people in the community, fans in the community, that do present irrefutable factual evidence that support lots of narratives in the story that we don't even know about.
And sometimes they don't even use facts. They just say, "Oh, what if this happened?" And you know, sometimes like at first glance it's like, "Nah, that'll never happen." But then guess what? Something like that either happens or close to it happens, and then those fans suddenly feel empowered. So kudos to you guys if for thinking outside the box. I think that's what it comes down to, and that's where Dragon Ball Super has really shined. For like I mentioned in the first question where I talked about the casual fan base. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not labeling anybody. So it is what it is though. Like if you come into this series, you know, knowing a little bit here and there about Dragon Ball Z, you know, and Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z.
I was like, what the hell is Dragon Ball Z?
Look at me, I just sound like a casual right there. So Dragon Ball Z. And you know, it is what it is. Like basically you consider yourself a casual fan. So I'm not labeling you guys, but so kudos to you guys for that. I think ultimately it's possible. I don't want to say yes, we'll see more. Logically speaking, there's really nobody else who's worth fusing, to be honest.
Right.
You could say the Namekians, but then that's not a fusion. That's a merge. That's a permanent merge. So Namekians, when they merge together, that's it. Their being is gone. You retain their powers, and I think you retain their memories. I think to a degree. So, or I'm not sure how that worked. I don't remember how that worked to a T right now at this point in time. So with that, it's kind of like it would make sense because you're fighting for your universe. So if that Namekian is willing to give up himself, then more power to them. And I think that still gives Universe 6 a more fighting chance, a bigger fighting chance. But when it comes down to, it's still Universe 6. When you look at everybody else who's worthy of fusing potentially, who really else is there? Well, there's the Megazord, but that's more of a merger. That's combining 3 fighters into one. It's essentially still 3 fighters, but merged into one, right? So that's that. And now that we're seeing Potara, who's to say that, well, if they could do it, we can do it too. And then we just start seeing a bunch of people start fusing out of the blue, and it's a whole fusion fest. So I don't think they introduced this idea to just make it a big fusion palooza, right? They're only going to do it with certain characters. They're going to do it with Kale and Caulifla because they're kind of replicating the concept that they did in the Majin Buu arc, which is fine. And you know, as far as like objectively, like where we look going forward, I don't think we're gonna see more fusion. As far as Vegito, we may see him return later on. I'm under the impression that when we first saw that massive nerf to him, that was the end of fusion. But now look, we're getting Potara fusion again. As far as Gogeta, I would argue
that one's iffy.
I would push more for him, only because we've gotten so many concepts in terms of quote unquote fan service, but that's one of the many things we've yet to receive. I think the fan base would explode if Gogeta were to be implemented into the series. Not so much the tournament, but just the series. So as far to definitively answer it, no, I just think this is going to be the character to focus on in terms of fusion. I think when we look at fusion, this is the character they really want to say, okay, these 2 characters fused because they had a lot of potential and we had a good idea for it and we really wanted to push for it, and these are the guys you got to look out for, and that's it. That's where we draw the line. And then eventually the spotlight is going to come back to guys like Gohan, guys like Goku and Jiren, and Ultra Instinct Goku, and maybe Piccolo's going to get rung out. We haven't seen 17 or 18. We still have to see the Vegeta versus Toppo fight. So there's still a lot of content to cover. So I just think after this, it's going to be it. That's it, no more.
I think that Kefro is going to be the only fusion. I'm not trying to downplay Vegito, Gogeta. I definitely want to see them in the series again, but not in the arc, because as much as I want to say it would be the right time, it would be, but as of right now, ever since introducing Ultra Instinct, there is no reason for them to utilize Fusion now that we have Ultra Instinct. But post your comments down below, guys. What are your overall thoughts on the Fusion? Do you guys agree or disagree with this concept? Let us know what you guys think down below. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, consider punching that subscribe button, guys. Enable all notifications to be notified whenever a brand new video is posted onto this channel. And of course, if you guys have not, go on ahead and slap a like down below. Also, guys, I will leave a link to EmoshIs channel down in the description box to where you guys can go on ahead and subscribe to his channel as well. He also does loads of awesome Dragon Ball videos, including live streams, so be sure to go on ahead and check that out, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Emosh, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.